So we have Stefan today again in our segment about ads in general. We discussed about ad metrics. Today we are moving on to optimization. So basically what happens after you looked at the metrics. Okay, these are the numbers, these are the, percentages. What do I do now? So yeah, for that, I'm just going to leave Stefan take over again and just give us an overview.
Great stuff. Thank you for having me for this second one. So ad optimizations. So I think it's just actually worth saying first of all maybe for people that are not really just familiar with ads, but it actually should be fine. But anyway, I just want to give a bit of context on that. So what is optimization, right? What is the goal of optimizing ads in general or any kind of marketing process? Let's put it like that. The goal is just to obtain the ideal goal and the end goal. Eventually, the big goal is to obtain a good acquisition cost for your ad, something that you are comfortable with and it makes sense for you for a business from a business perspective, right? So basically to acquire customers, to just get customers or acquire customers at a cost that is just something which you can afford. And after you can make a profit from that cost as well. So that's the ideal cost, right? That's the ideal goal. Now, obviously in between, there's when we talk about optimization, there's a bunch of other things that we're going to get into. And with those things, you actually get to that goal. So that's kind of what we're doing with optimizations. Now, I think if we talk specifically about optimization, last time we talked about metrics, we had a bit of an overview of the Facebook Ads Manager. So I think it's worth saying, first of all, what do we look at when we're trying to optimize ads? Super important, right? In the process of optimization, you start some ads, you give them some time to run. Probably I was saying last time something, you give them time, to spend between $100 or $200 or 7 days or how long you're comfortable with and spending. So the first thing that you want to do when you're optimizing ads is have a good overview of the ads that are running, right? So what does that mean exactly? We look at different views. When you go into Facebook Ads Manager, it's quite easy at the top right corner to spot the time frames, right? So ideally, you want to look at ads in the past 30 days. You want to look at ads in the past 14 days. You want to look in the last 7 days, or if you want to go even further, you can look in the last 3 days as well. So this is going to give you a good overview of how your ads are performing over certain periods of time. And you can also compare them between each other, right? Let's say that we have ad number 1 that is running from October, right? So this ad, maybe in the first 7 days of October, it performed really, really well. We have a good acquisition cost, the metrics are looking good in general. So in the first week of October, this ad was performing well. But then maybe the performance dropped, in the next 7 days. And then the performance maybe just went back up again. So that's the reason why you want to have a good overview of your ads, right? You look at 30 days, you look at 14 days, you look at 7 days, and then you look even at 3 days if you really want to get into it. So you want to just compare these ads, how they actually perform over specific periods of time. If I'm not mistaken, you can even just do split windows in Facebook Ads Manager. You can do split windows anyway, and just have them compared one side to side. Sometimes if I want to have a really, really good overview, I'm just going to do a split screen and I put them next to each other. And I just that's going to give you a very, very good overview if you want to actually look at that. Time frames, really important to have a good overview over the ads. And then we kind of get into the metrics and what do we look at and what does it mean a good ad, what does it actually mean at the end of the day? Let's take the classic example. We have some ads running, 5 ads running, and we look at a period of time of 30 days, right? So personally, the first thing that I look at, I think I talked about it last time as well, but it's purchases, cost per purchases, and actions and cost per actions, right? So that's going to give me the first indicators of an ad that actually performs. I want to see how many conversions I get, but more importantly, how at what cost. So let me just explain this a bit more, right? So again, I think we talked about it last time as well. Conversions are important, but it's actually more important at what cost you actually get a conversion, right? Because you might have ad number 1 that brought you 10 conversions at $300 per conversion, but that's not a cost that you're able to support as a business because you sell your product with $150, right? So obviously this doesn't really make sense over there. So you have like ad number two that's just like brought you maybe like two purchases, but the cost per purchase is actually, let's say, $50. Okay, so this is actually a better ad because it brought like customers at a better cost, right? $50, something that you can actually just like support, right? Because think about it again. You have like, you bring a customer in for like $50, like someone purchases your product and that's your cost per purchase, and then you sell this product for $150. You already made your money back and you also like made profit. So that's like the difference, and like that's why like cost per purchase is actually more important than the amount of conversions. Just for context, it happened to me quite a few times to actually stop ads that had like a lot of conversions just because the cost was like too high for us to support. And also like when you're leaving an ad to run at the high cost per purchase, you also like signal Facebook that, hey, this is something that I'm able to support, this cost is good for me. So you don't really want to give Facebook this kind of indicator, this kind of signal. So again, we look at like cost per purchases, and that's like the most important metric that you have to like look at. That's like literally the most important metric, at least in my opinion. Now, there's also like something which is like, let's put it not, I wouldn't say like necessarily like secondary metric, but something that I'm looking at additionally, right? And that's like that cost per action that we talked about it last time as well, which is like also important to like get a good overview. Now, let's just like walk through like again quite fast. Action can be any action that you decide a user takes in your funnel, right? Could be like a registration when I just click the sign up button on the website, or it can be like an add to cart, so like a user just like gets all the way to the end if you're like an e-com and they add something to cart. So you can also see like ads to just like actions and like cost per actions. These ones are going to give you like again a good overview of like what performs well. Now these ones, they must be looked at together, right? So you look at like acquisition cost and cost per purchase or cost per conversion, and also you look at these like actions and cost per actions. You will see that most of the time, at least in my experience, the ads that have a good acquisition cost, or again cost per purchase, kind of like the same thing, they also have like good cost per actions. So there's going to be a correlation over there.
I think it makes perfect sense, and I think it's very interesting to always focus on that purchase side of things, because the last episode we talked about the vanity metrics, right? So the ones that people tend to look first because they just get excited because there's just a lot of numbers, but actually focus, on the end goal straight away. Because I feel like the old-fashioned way was to kind of build up those audiences to get to that point. But actually now you can just focus on everything at the same time and look at all the metrics together to give you the answers, right?
That's correct. So like yeah, like again, like that's like these are like the most important for me, at least in the beginning, but we're gonna get into like some of those vanity metrics as well, because there's like some important things that you can like spot over there.
Have you ever had a situation where the cost per purchase just like terrified you and there was like nowhere to like go back from, so you were like, oh my goodness, we just spent $250 on one person to
It did, yeah.
So
It doesn't, but
can
it's
you
like
tell
something
us
that you like kind of.
sorry. So if you can tell us about that situation, but also tell us how to avoid that in the future, if there's optimization that we can do or not.
No. So to be honest with you, like that, it does happen like on a regular basis, and like that's the process of just like launching ads and optimizing, right? You're always going to have ads that are going to like perform at costs that are you're not okay with it, right? So that's again like that's the process of optimizing ads. So you have to get comfortable and you have to understand that like some ads are going to work and like some ads are not going to work, and that's like just like the perfect it's the way things work, right? You're never going, at least like from my experience, you're never going to like just like get to a status where you have like all the ads performing at the desired cost, and like and everything is going to be like flower power in your Facebook ads manager. You're always going to have to launch ads, and like some of them are going to perform, some of them are not going to perform. And just like a disclaimer over here, probably around 90% of the ads you're going to launch are not going to perform, and then like 10% of them are going to perform. So just like you really have to be like comfortable with that. Now, I think like another question in this was like, what do you do when like that happens? It's quite simple. You just like stop the ads, not much else you can really do. You just like, okay, this is the cost. You stop the ad, and then you look at the creative, you look at the like primary text, you look at like some of the vanity metrics, and you just like try to understand what was the USP over there, or like maybe why this ad didn't work. Why is this video not performing? That's what you have to ask yourself, right? Like why this doesn't really work. And I feel like, at least in my opinion, that's like the more complicated part, because it's just like, it's not like either E or B, right? It's just like you have to like kind of like guesswork and understand why those creatives don't really work. It's going to happen the same with creatives that work. For me, it happened a lot of times. Just like, okay, I have this video that is working very, very well, right? And I'm happy about it. And I try to replicate this video, right? I'm just like literally trying to replicate it the same. In most cases, it's not going to work. So that's actually just like, you have to ask yourself again, why this video didn't really work, So I feel that's actually the more complicated part. But just like to kind of like sum it up, if you go into Facebook Ads Manager or like whatever Ads Manager you're doing, and you see that costs are like literally too high, don't panic. It's part of the process. It's normal. Some ads are going to work. Some ads are not going to work. Most of them are not going to work though. Just like stop that specific ad, have a look at the creative, have a look at the primary text, and just like ask yourself why this didn't work, and just like put it down on a paper, try to like kind of like avoid it for the next like creatives. That's like the
Cool, thank you. I guess that shows that yes, you feel like you're wasting money, but actually you're learning from that for the future ads as well. So treat it as that.
Treat it as that. I wouldn't say like you're wasting money necessarily. Like this is probably like related to like how Facebook and like Meta just like works, and AI like works behind the scenes and all those algorithms. Like what I would say over here, all those money that you spend on ads that are not working, you can consider them just like part of a learning phase, right? So like if you stop an ad that's not working for you, Facebook is going to like understand, okay, these costs are like too high. This creative is not good. Maybe this audience is not good enough, So like when you signal Facebook or like Meta those things and you stop these ads, just like this is like eventually going to contribute to ads that are going to work. Facebook is going to say, okay, I stopped this ad, right? Like the advertiser like stop this ad, right? Okay, maybe this audience is not working for them. Let me try another bucket of the audience. Let me try some other optimizations in the past. So I wouldn't say, although like you see over there that indeed I spent like $300 and like it didn't work, but I would say it's like part of a learning process, and like everything just like goes towards that end goal of like finding the right audiences, the right creatives, and the right people at the end of the day to convert. So you have to like think about these like primary metrics that you look at. They're like obviously the first thing that you look, but you also like have to look at others and put them like together in like a decision making process, right? So on top of this, I think like I mentioned this like last time as well, but I also look at like other things. For example, let's split them, right? Let's say we have video creators or like video ads or like whatever. Another thing that I really look at is like the hook rate, right? So how good is my hook, So you can like filter, like in Facebook, you can like set up the hook rate, or I think there's another metric called like 3-second views. How many people that actually like saw your hook and actually they stayed to watch it. So that's like a very good indicator that you're like hook for this like specific video is actually a good one. Again, like if I have anything like a video and this video has a hook rate of like anything like 18, 19, 20%, whatever is getting close to 20%, for me, that's like a good hook over there because people are watching that one, right? So that means the hook is good. Then it's also like click-through rate or unique click-through rate at the end of the day. And this like tells me how many people are clicking through this ad, and actually going to my website. If we think about it, the click-through rate is just not about the hook itself. It's also like about what you talk about in that video, because like the hook might be good, but the rest of the video might be shitty at the end of the day. So that means people are not going to click through it. For example, if you have like a good CTR, for me, that's like an indicator that the entire ad is actually good, just like good ad overall, like the entire video, let's put it like that. So we also have like hook rate. We also have like unique outbound CTR, and I'm talking about videos. So we put all these like together and we try to like make a decision.
What's a good CTR?
A good CTR is like, personally, I consider whatever is just like above 1%. I look at the engagement that videos like get as well, but not really all the time, to be honest with you. I'm just curious how many comments they get, how much engagement, how many likes, and so on. basically we have like these are the metrics that I look, right? And now like the question like, okay, where does the optimization comes in? And like the answer is like quite simple. We kind of like touch it, right? If you see like ads that are the way I think about it, okay, if I'm seeing ads that don't have a good cost per purchase, don't really have like registrations, for example, which is an action in our case, maybe they don't have like a good CTR or like they don't have a good hook rate, that is already a signal that this ad is not performing. And let's say this ad, spent $150. If again, you don't have these like good metrics, you just like stop the ad. And that's like the first optimization that you do. You just like stop this ad, take a step back, look at that creative and see like what was wrong with that creative. Try to like figure it out, try to understand it. And again, it's going to be like the case with like the most of the videos or like the most of the creative that you're like pretty much running. So that's like kind of like the first scenario of an optimization, right? That's what it means. Like I have this ad over here, these metrics are not looking good. I'm just going to stop the ad. I'm going to analyze it and I'm going to try to figure out what was wrong with it. But the things that get more kind of like tricky down the line, what do you do with the, like, there's a, for example, like a question of there's like, what do I do with an ad that doesn't have any purchases? I don't have any cost per purchase, but it has like a very good hook to rate, right? Or like a very good click CTR. So that's like when another part of the optimization comes in. Like, remember, what did we say earlier? A good hook rate means the hook of the video, the first 3 seconds are good, right? So if this video, for example, has a good, like a hook rate of like 21%, but then it doesn't bring any conversions, in my head, what do I think about it is like this way. Okay, this is a very good hook for this video, but the rest of the video, like the USP, the selling point, or like whatever I talked in the video, or maybe even the call to action, were not good enough to generate conversions or to actually have people go to my website and then generate conversions. So what am I going to do? I'll do this one. I'll just like take this video, I cut the first 3 or 4 seconds of the video, and I'm going to use this hook with other USPs or other like product features and try to like refine the process. So this is like part of the optimization as well. You have to like kind of like split the creatives in just like parts, allocate like metrics to these creatives and try to understand like how to just like put them together for a better result. And like the next step is just like simple again. Okay, we have a good, like a video that hasn't performed, but I'll just give you an example, but the hook is good, right? The hook is like 21%. Again, I'll take this hook and I'll put it on another video that talks about other selling points, that talks about other product features. And then we just like launch this video and like we look at this video. Okay, let's see how this performed, right? We're going to give it like 7 days and probably again it's going to spend like $150. We don't panic when it spends $150 and it doesn't bring any conversions, right? So we just look then, okay, how does this new video perform? The hook rate is good, but this time, did it bring conversions? Did it bring a better CTR? Because those are going to be like indicators of like actually optimizing better towards, I don't know, towards an end goal. So this is like pretty much optimization.
I personally love that take on it, the fact that it's really reverse engineering. Once you get a creative and then you're like, okay, check in the actual bits. Have you found when you've done that then that you've took away, for example, you've got a really good hook, but the body wasn't good and you've switched that around, do you then notice a lot of the time that they will perform better, or how have you found that?
I wouldn't say a lot of the time. That's like that's literally the optimization. You just like have to like take this process and do it like repeatedly until you actually find that good combination of like parts of the videos that are actually working very good for you. And like again, like it doesn't mean like if I'm gonna take a good hook and I'm gonna put it on the second video, it's going to perform. Maybe again the hook is gonna be good, but then like the CTR or the conversions, they're not going to be there. What does this mean? Okay, I'll take the hook again out and I put it on a different video until I find a combination, like a mix of things that actually works. It's a mix of like good hooks, good selling points, and like a good call to action. So this is literally the optimization. You literally take and A/B test all these like variables until you find the ones that are selling for you. And it's just like, I'll give you an example. In SocialCat, very good hook that is performing for us is just like a simple question. Are you a small business owner that just launched your new brand? This is like a very simple question. We have like a bunch of creators that ask this in different forms. So I have this like hook on different videos. Most of them like they haven't really brought conversions, but the hook was always constant, always like around 19 to 20%. So I literally just like took this hook and like put it on different videos all the time until I found the next combination in the video. And like the next combination in the video that worked for us, it was just like this hook with maybe like a different person or like a voiceover that was talking about like it's not good to spend money on expensive influencers on agencies because you can obtain better results with gifted collaborations. But it's not like I just like this was like the second option, right? I had to like A/B test different like versions until I found this one. And then like I moved to the final step, which is the call to action. So I had to test like 1, 2, or 3 call to actions to actually see what made sense over there. But this is like literally the optimization, like, and it's not going to happen like immediately. You're going to have to like test a lot of these until you actually find that mix. It's not really rocket science. You just like need to like split and test all the time to see what's working.
So patience over actual
Patience
isn't it?
Stefan is still learning about this word.
Patience is something that I'm definitely not good at all. It is a process.
I think it's the secret, right?
It's the secret that like you need to ads or like
well, I guess
in general, yeah.
Maybe in everything, but I feel like in general in digital marketing, right? It's like it's not even because it's not all like, one size fit all solution. You're gonna have to figure it out for your own brand. People can just give you their advice where to start and what to look at whilst you're like optimizing thing. So I think it would be interesting to know when you say optimizing, are we only talking about the video content or are we also talking about text, call to actions inside the actual, because I think it will be quite interesting to know as well, what do you look at to optimize first? If the ad is like almost performing, but something is missing, do we first look at the on-screen text and the code buttons and stuff, or do we look in the creative straight away?
So kind of like static was like next on my list, related to advice, and you said like, okay, there's like just like one like small addition. There's no one size fits all indeed. Whatever works for Social Cat, which is like SaaS, like subscription, might not work for other like subscription services. But what actually works is like just like the framework and the way of looking at things. Again, like you just like zoom out and I'm looking at things from a like optimization perspective. Okay, I take these variables like separately and I just like throw things over there. So the framework of doing things, I would say probably works for everyone. If I would start a new business tomorrow, I would use exactly the same framework, right? So framework applies to everyone. Whatever you put in that framework is going to be totally different for everyone. So just like wanted to add that. Now, in terms of like you're saying like what do I look first time and just like when I'm looking to optimize an ad, personally I look at the creative all the time, and like I would say probably like second thing that I look at is the primary text. Call to action, like that one that's like under ads, is always learn more. I never really touched that one. Just let it be over there. It works like really, really well, at least for us.
But you want the one that you put next to it, that sometimes we say best in class UGC,
the mini text.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what's a description. I don't know.
Title, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's the headline actually. So it's the one that's on the left of the call to action. Sure. The way to like look at creative, but maybe like so at least like with Social Cat, we have a lot of like primary text and a lot of just like headlines that are working for us. So like whenever I launch new ads, what I do, I just like take the same primary text and I take the same headlines and I just like change the creatives. But the process is the same behind the scenes, right? You're going to launch different ads. And for each of these ads, you're going to have like primary text and then you're going to have like headlines. What you can do over here is like, because like the problem with optimizing is people throw in way too many variables and like you're not going to know actually what made the difference. So like another kind of like takeaway over here, don't throw in that many variables, right? If you're changing something, don't change like 3 or 4 things for the next ad, because you're not going to know where like the difference comes. Like if you're doing like the next ad, just like try to change one thing, or maximum 2 things. Let's put it like that.
I think it's the same, with like girl math. It's like if you're changing a skincare routine, change one product, don't do everything because you're not going to know what's working and what didn't.
It is the
That's
same.
just like a girl's way of thinking.
If it's easier
Fair
to
enough.
understand how ads work.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So one way to look at that is just like, again, you can throw it in the same framework that we talked about it, but one other like interesting or like good way to look at things over here is there's a way of like filtering. It's just like easy. I haven't done it lately, but there's like a way of filtering in like Facebook Ads Manager to just like kind of do like a split view and see what actually spend most. So for example, if you have like a lot of ads into an ad set, you can just like do the split view and see which primary text like spent the most, which
Oh, yeah.
headlines spent the most money, and then like you can also like, it's a bit weird because I'm not sure if they show it now, but like in the past, you can also see how many conversions brought like a specific part, like a specific like primary text. So I don't think they actually show that anymore, just like because of privacy reasons or like stuff like that. But a good indicator that you have like good primary text and good headlines is to look at what spends most. If you have like some headlines that are spending most of your budget, or if you have like some primary texts that are spending the most of your budget, take those and just like relaunch them, because like what Facebook understands, like again, like if an ad like spends a lot, that's a good signal this ad was like good. So that's kind of like way of like at looking at things.
So just for the people out there, to sum up a bit what we've discussed in terms of optimization. Obviously, go through your metrics, see what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and then from there start taking these steps that Stefan was talking about, like creative. That's the first step that you would go for. But I think just for easy understanding is, for example, if you have an ad, right, you have hook, you have body, you have a CTA, right? Let's say the hook is great, the hook rate is great. That means the next ad, you'll keep the hook, you'll maybe change the body, and then you'll leave the CTA as well. Because again, if you change a lot of things, then it's going to like mess it up. Then the primary text, maybe you'll keep the same, headline the same, and then see what happens. If that doesn't work, that means the body is the problem. So I think take one change at a time and then decide what's the next step, what you should change until you find the right combination. Literally, it's like a save, right? It's like
Yeah.
you
So
just
slowly but surely.
in order to create ads is to be structured, to have a structure in your way of launching ads. And you Stefan, know what we're talking about, because at some point we did have like we started to have a very complex structure where we had like body folders, CTAs folders, hook folders, and so on. And I think that might work, but because we work in it didn't really work for us. So we just like went with, okay, I'll just remember this CTA, whatever, this hook or whatever, this body, and then move from there. But ideally you would want to be a bit more structured and put these like folders so that you know next time, and then yeah, decide what's. I actually had a question about a situation. Let's say you have an okayish acquisition cost. The hook rate is not that good. It's not that good, and then the CTR is average. Let's say, what would you do with that ad? Because obviously the hook rate is important, but then let's say it's a video, obviously, because usually you would have a hook rate, like a percentage of hook rate on a video. What would you do in that situation? Would you close the ad? Would you leave it for another week to see what happens?
I wouldn't like close it, but this is like it really depends how comfortable you are with your like business overall, right? Again, like we're talking about kind of like the same thing, like acquisition cost. I'm talking about like SaaS mostly, but I'm quite confident e-commerce is the same. So how comfortable are you with that metric in a bigger like from a bigger perspective? Let's take an example, right? Let's say that our like LTV, like lifetime value, or like how much money we make from a customer is just like 350 pounds for like 1 year, right? And I have this ad, like which cost me like the cost per purchase is like 200 pounds. It's not ideal because it's not that ratio of like 1 to 3 CAC to LTV that I'm looking at, because I want that ratio to make money out of it, right? It's not really ideal, but how comfortable am I with leaving that? That's actually the question of that. I think this is like something that depends on just like how your business is performing overall. If you want to be like, really like drastic drastic, if you want to just like cut all the like just like really really optimize towards something that works very very well, you're gonna probably have to close that one. If you're a bit more comfortable with your business overall, if everything looks good in the back end, you're gonna probably want to leave that. For example, I would leave it. I wouldn't be that bothered about it, because like, okay, everything works well. There's no need for like this like very drastic optimization. I would be comfortable with that cost. But like again, it really depends how comfortable are you with your costs. If you're like, I don't know, if your profit is like just like you're like barely breaking even, I wouldn't probably leave that one to run, right?
Yeah.
But again, if I'm like profitable, like I have like a decent, good profit, I don't know what I mean, like I know, but like it depends on like from business to business. If you have like a good or like decent profit, I'm just going to leave it because there's no point. It still bring customers. It's not the ideal cost, but again, like I'm on a profit, I'm okay with it. But if I'm just like, barely breaking even, I'm not going to actually be comfortable with that because I just like really want to like bump it up.
So I guess it's very much like depends on the timeline where you are, kind of like as a business, almost like if you are in a comfortable position this month, you might want to keep it going. But if this moment is a bit more stressful, then probably that's the one that you would be switching off.
Exactly. I think this is like one of the answers that there isn't like any sort of framework, or there isn't like any size fits all over here. It's just like it really depends where you are with your business. Like if you're on profit, if you're like doing good, if there's no like what is it called? Red flags, you're gonna
Yeah.
probably want to leave it and just like bring customers in. But if you're gonna like if you know that you have like some big expenses, or again you're just like barely breaking even, you might actually want to just like kind of like trim it down.
Let's say that the brand just kind of started doing the ads. Someone is just doing the ads but they haven't had many purchases from the ads in general, right? But then this one ad brings purchases, but they are expensive cost per purchase. So it's almost like they know that they can't afford it, but obviously they still want to run ads. So would you delete that ad, turn it off and start a new one? Or would you try optimizing it first? What would be the kind of way of thinking there?
I don't think there's like one way excludes the other, right? I'm probably going to take that and like see what's wrong with it. Obviously, I'm going to turn it off, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to optimize, right? I'm probably going to turn it off, look at other metrics as well, take parts from that video and like launch
And
another
then,
one.
gotcha.
Yeah, so it's like not one excludes the other. I'm probably going to turn it off, then take parts of the video or like whatever the creative and just like throw it in a different form, or like trying to like optimize that one over there. But again, all this like I'm uncomfortable, all the like this question of like, am I going to stop an ad or am I going to let it run? It depends on your like business metrics overall. If you're a SaaS, it depends on like CAC to LTV like ratio, like how comfortable are you with that? And then even if you're in e-commerce, it's still pretty much the same like metrics under a different form. It's like still like acquisition cost versus like LTV from like this customer. Maybe like the LTV over there is just like calculated like slightly different, but I'm pretty sure it's actually the same. So it really depends where you are with your like with your metrics. The reason I asked you, for example, like, can you confirm this is a new business? Because if tomorrow I would start a new business, let's say I start a SaaS product tomorrow, I'm actually not going to stop that ad even if it doesn't perform at a good cost, because I actually don't know what's a good cost, right? If I start a SaaS business tomorrow, what's a good LTV for me? I need to actually wait 6 months to 1 year probably to understand first the LTV. And let's say like in this year, my LTV gets to like 450. Okay, then I'm going to know this is the acquisition cost that I'm actually comfortable with. But until you don't really know that LTV, or like how much money you're making from like customers, you don't know what's a good CAC. Maybe you're making 600, so that means like 200 is a good cost. Maybe you're making like 900 pounds or like dollars. That means 300 is a good acquisition cost, right? So that's why it's like important where you are as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
But you need to make sure that you are willing to lose those money. Like that's for sure. Because like
I feel like this is the motto of this series. This is the motto. Like just be prepared.
let's mentally be prepared that your money is going
I've
out of the
actually
window.
got a money question here too. So say obviously we'll not get into specifics about money, but say your business, what percentage of your profit / revenue should you be putting towards ad spend? Like for a brand that doesn't have a clue, you're like, I'm not making a lot of money, I'm making some, I'm in profit. How much should I be allocating in terms of my percent? Because I think businesses don't really know that, and then they can very easily get terrified with it's a lot or what's actually realistic, would you say?
I'm actually not sure. I'm not sure what to tell you to this. Like, it's like again like one of those questions. Like in my head, like the first thing is like how much profit I want to make, right? Like at the end of the like net profit, like after like I pay everything and taxes and I just like take out all the expensive. Let's say I make 20,000 a month. How much am I actually comfortable to like just like lose from over there in the beginning? Is it like 5 grand? Is it like 10 grand? How much I want to make at the end of the day? I don't have a benchmark for that, to be honest with you. Like for me, it's like how much am I willing to risk? And like, is that risk worth the reward? Let's say I put like 5,000 in, how much more I can actually bring in? What is the ratio of the, because if I don't know, I put 5K and I can bring 2K, that's a good risk for me, you know? But if I put like, can I bring like, I don't know, 7K, it's not a good risk. So it's like how much you're willing to risk. I think that's a better question over there. How much you're willing to risk.
And also
And yeah.
what kind of product you have, because again,
Mm.
if it's a SaaS product and you know that you will have repeated customers every month, then again it is another like question to be, okay, I feel a bit more comfortable because I can I know that these people might come the next month, but it's still a risk.
They might not.
Exactly, that they might not. But if you have like an e-commerce brand that sells like skincare products and they're not subscription based, then it is even harder because you can't really predict how many customers you'll have. Obviously, we'll have repeated customers, and you definitely have to look at the retention rate for sure
Mm-hmm.
in order to see how much are you willing to spend. But at the beginning, as Stefan said, is hard. You don't have the
Yeah.
numbers. You would,
Fair,
yeah, and you just have to throw money in there and see what happens.
Also depends on the actual price range of your products, right? Because that's gonna make you think, okay, if this, face cream is $10, what is the the number that I'm willing to pay for that ad to actually reach that customer who might come back or might just be a one-time, purchase. So I think it all very much depends. But these ads would normally have a lower cost because the product's value is easier. So it makes the person buy it a little bit quicker. That journey is way shorter than, if it's $100 or whatever.
Exactly.
Loads of questions and loads of things to figure out for the brands. But I feel like it's great to break it down into like, look, these are all the things that, yes, of course, you need to figure out for your own business, but for the ads themselves, you need to have it all figured out. And while you're learning from the ads, make the most of your money. Like, don't just look at, how many purchases you got for K that you spend. Make sure that you actually look at the audience, who is buying it, how long it takes them to buy it. Take all of those learnings with you rather than just say, oh, I just wasted 5K. Because maybe you haven't, but you just, you're not looking into it. Is you wasting money?
Yeah, or looking at the wrong metrics, like the vanity metrics that are not really that important, and just caring about being viral.
I think like kind of like another because like I think like someone mentioned in the beginning like there's like maybe like we can like break this down to like two takeaways, right? It's just like okay, first of all, understand how these optimizations work. If you didn't understand, just like do a bit more research because there's actually a lot of information and it's literally not rocket science at all. Understand how this optimization works. I'm not gonna go through it again, but also like very important is just like set a budget you're comfortable with putting into ads every month. Don't just like throw $3,000 to them and then say ads don't work. Most of people do that. Just like ask yourself, how much am I willing to spend in the next 12 months, every single month? How much is like sustainable for me so I can actually pick up this process and just like, make it work. It's going to take maybe like 12 months. It's a bit much. Let's say like 6 months, you should like learn some stuff in like 6 months. How much am I comfortable to spend every single month, which is like still sustainable? I'm not going to like drive my brand off a cliff. I'm not going to go bankrupt, and like I'm going to be able to understand like this one, because like again, like in 6 months you're going to be able to understand a few things. 12 months is even better. And if you dedicate time to this, again, it's not rocket science. I think you should be able to like figure it out if you budget properly and if you understand like how optimizations work. Like before, like I mean, this is more for small brands, I would say. But like, if you're like if you're like deciding to just go with an agency, there's like probably a better route to just like don't throw that money on the agency, just invest these money in ads and try to figure it out yourself, at least for a while, at least to understand how things work in the back end.
But just make sure that you commit to the budget. Don't get,
I
funny
would
with that.
say
So you
so.
put 3K and then nothing the next month, because then you're just losing that money, don't you? So,
Exactly. That's when the money loss happens. That's why I was saying, like, okay, it needs like the budget that you do, it needs to be sustainable. Like, just like literally
mm.
take that out of the mat, right? Hey, every single month I'm spending this amount on ads, so I have to add that to my expenses, to like marketing or whatever expense I want to categorize it under, and just like obviously it's going to be like less profit at the end of the day, but I need to be commit something every single month that I'm comfortable with, right? And like again, you can like split that budget into two. Like, okay, I'm gonna put part of the budget into like ads itself to run the ads, and part of the budget into the creatives as well. How much is a good split over there? Again, it depends. Probably like for me personally, I wouldn't even like start with Canva, right? Because like Canva just gives you amazing stuff, even like for anyone, right? You just like start with Canva, start learning. Then after you get like some learnings from over there, after you understand like maybe what works for you, what sells for you, then just like spend money on UGC creators.
But we will talk about this in depth in our next episodes anyway, like creatives and maybe tools or like ways of getting ads anyway. But yeah, anything else that you want to add, Stefan, to this optimization episode?
No, just like maybe like I didn't get a chance to like say about statics, but because I just like touched the videos, but like it's pretty much kind of like the same thing under like statics as well, right? You just like try to find just like with statics, like keep it simple, keep it like simple and clean, and just like have good copywriting, which is like related to your like USPs, and like again, you throw this under the same frame of just like A/B testing and like finding what actually works for you. So it's kind of like the same thing though, more or less.
Yep, makes sense. But then again, we will talk about creatives more in depth, like examples of what we've done, maybe, and do's and don'ts probably as well. So yeah, that's going to be more fun, I think, because we're talking about what you actually put in the visuals of the ad. But yeah, well, thanks for joining again, and for walking us through optimization. Hopefully it's been an insightful episode again, because for us, even for me, that I pretty much know how things are working, there's sometimes like questions that I might have, and these things can also help me a lot, like understand better. And then yeah, I guess we're going to see you in our next episode. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us over email, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify. I think you can comment on Spotify as well. We will see you on our next episode.
Great. Thank you very
Bye,
much for having
guys.
me.